Hi everybody, welcome to Young Horse Tarp Training. I like to just pick up the tarp. I like to be touching the tarp before I have the horse try and just walk up to and approach something like a tarp. Tarps are usually a pretty scary object, so I try and show them that I'm brave and I'm willing to touch and play with and work with this tarp. Here I'm dragging it a little bit. I try and be relatively noisy with the tarp, so that they can learn to be confident with it, just making noise in their vicinity before they have to try and make noise with it under their feet. And I always put any sort of scary object, I put myself in between me and the scary object while we're moving towards the scary object, if at all possible, before I put the scary object between me and the horse. And she's relatively quick with this. I mean, this was really her first day seeing a tarp, and she's already investigating it and, curious about it. So I stop and I let her sniff it. Here comes my dog, so I try and have her distracted a minute so I can pet him and send him away. And he's really a good assistant. Everybody loves Cooper. It's very responsive to his commands, so I go ahead and pick the tarp back up. We're dragging the tarp, and she's good with that. So I feel like this is just the best way to teach a young horse how to feel confident approaching some sort of an object. Eventually, they're going to step on it because they're walking towards it. And once they step on it, I'm going to drop it and then just, let her process that. So that's another little sneaky trick. There's so many horses out there that are scared of plastic bags. So I just put a few treats or a little bit of grain in a plastic bag and use that just in my regular daily routine so that they learn to associate the scary plastic bag with something that's, more friendly, like treats. Once they've walked over it a couple of times, folded up, and they've followed it around and stepped on it and everything, then I just like to open it up and work with them over it a couple of times as an open big tarp. And I just keep it easy, keep it small, 1 or 2 times, and that's it. She's a good girl. This is day 2 of playing with a tarp. My goals on this day are to get her confident going over the tarp on her own without me having to necessarily lead her over. So here I'm being able to use my lunging pressures to send her over it without me having to lead her over it. And eventually I want to get her to trot over it and just feel really confident with herself that she can just crash right over that tarp, and it's really no big deal. Here she's going over the tarp, but she's diving kind of sideways. So this next time, I position myself to block her from going sideways, and instead of her going sideways, she stops and she investigates and she walks straight over the tarp. But my goal is to get her to go straight over the tarp and not feel like she has to spook at it as she goes over it. Here she's decided to go straight over the tarp, just needs a little bit of encouragement, so I cluck at her, and that's the first time that she takes trot steps on the tarp. So that's a step in the right direction as far as her confidence goes. She is allowed to investigate, and eventually she will just continue to trot right over the tarp. Horsemanship 101 says everything has to be done equally in both directions. So we change directions. We start at the walk her confidently over the tarp, and then eventually we'll get to trotting over it. And there she goes. And again, it's just 2-3 times and call it a day. Keep everything in very small increments. They'll have positive experiences and grow from there.